Hey guys, so you may have inherited a property. You may be going through settling in an estate, and you could be, like many people, questioning the decisions that you make, wondering how you know if you're making the right decision for yourself, for the other people involved, and if you're following the wishes that the people that you lost wanted for their stuff, their legacy. And although many people question that as they go through this process, we have 3 ways to help you understand that you're making the best decisions that you possibly can. So a while ago, I was helping someone out who lost a loved one who was very close to them. When this happened, they inherited a home, and all of a sudden they were a homeowner. Never had been a homeowner before. They were really stressed out because now all of a sudden, if something broke, they had to take care of it. Their property tax bills coming up, they had to take care of it all of a sudden. The mortgage, the bank would allow them to take it over, but again, they weren't used to paying a mortgage. They were used to paying rent, which was actually a lot less than the mortgage that they now had to pay. And before this happened, they were able to take care of things. Their responsibilities were pretty manageable and pretty easy. They had a cute little apartment that they lived in that was really nice and comfortable for them. They always dreamed about owning a home, but they didn't think that they'd be able to for quite some time, and then bam, this happens. They lost a loved one and they inherited a home. Not only did they inherit a home, they're dealing with the grief of losing a loved one and all of that heaviness and all of those feelings. And they were shocked with all the dreams that came up from it, the memories that they hadn't thought of for years that just started flushing towards them. And they felt overwhelmed, which a lot of people do when they're going through this. And as they started to look at what they wanted when all of this was done, and when they started looking at the life that they wanted to create for themselves, they started getting a lot of self-doubt. They weren't sure if the decisions that they were making would actually lead them to the life that they wanted to live. They weren't sure if their decisions honored the people that they lost. And they even felt like they didn't deserve to get all of the stuff that they were getting. This inheritance even made them question if they deserved it or were entitled to it. One of the things that he always told me that he did was he'd reach out to the family members that he was close to, the older people. And he would ask these older people in his family who he respected immensely and loved and cared for greatly what their opinions were on different things. And then once the whole process was done, he regretted doing that because he realized that the people whose opinions he was asking for never lived the life that he was trying to create. So although he respected these people and loved them tremendously, and even though that these people wanted to give him the best advice they ever could have, they didn't have the skills or the life experience to give him good advice that would lead him to where he wanted to be. What he really needed was a mentor that would guide him into building confidence with his decision-making process, and also with confidence so that he can act decisively and feel self-assured in the actions that he was taking, the decisions that he was making, and on a bigger scale, the life that he was dreaming that he could step into. So as you look for guidance with these decisions, it's super important to look at where the advice is coming from. Even though this person that I worked with loved the older people in his family, he realized they didn't own multiple homes. He was asking him for advice on how he could start investing in real estate, but it turns out they were afraid to invest in real estate. They were comfortable investing in stocks. Now, if he wanted to invest in stocks, these would have been great people to ask. They did tremendous things with increasing their net worth and creating a legacy just with their investments with that. But it wasn't what my client wanted to do. So you may ask, how do you connect with people who have already done what you're trying to do? Well, number one is you can research them. You can find out who other investors are, who other property owners are. It may be a lot more simple than you could think of to realize that you actually know people who are doing this. Who are you connected to that has already invested in real estate? Who are you connected to that's bought a home? Who are you connected to that's inherited a home and figured out how to make this process easier? And once you can think of who that person is, reach out to them. It's super easy. And you would be surprised at how much people want to help you. People who've never even met you will likely be very excited to help you out through this situation. But the number one person who can help you more than anyone else is yourself. And the way that you do that is these 3 steps to help you build confidence. Now, number 1 is to become decisive. Understand that no matter what you're facing, when an option's given to you, you need to make a decision. And these are simple things like yes or no. Start with the easy stuff that seems inconsequential. Because when you act more decisive on this, the easier it is to make a decision and feel confident in the decisions that you make. The example that most people can relate with is when a family's hanging out and someone says, "What should we do about dinner?" And everyone goes, "I don't know. Whatever you want. I don't know. What do you think we should have?" Everyone's answer is, "I don't know." No one can be decisive. Everyone's trying to pass it off to someone else, and they're not trying to think, or they're just not hungry at that time. But if you could sit there in that moment and say, "Hey, I want blank." It seems inconsequential at that moment, but it helps build that muscle of being confident with the decisions that you're making. So I challenge you, as you go on from this, over the next 30 days, when someone's asking you what you want for dinner, have a decision and go with it. Stick with it. See how you feel from making that decision. When you have options come up in your life, would you rather do this now or would you rather do it later? Make a decision and stick with it. These things that seem inconsequential have tremendous power to help you boost your confidence. Now, practice number 2 is to cultivate awareness. What do I mean by cultivating awareness? Cultivating awareness means to become aware of how it feels to make a decision, or when you take an action, or when you notice something. What does that feel like for you? What does it do how does it sit with you? And then what actions did you take that created that result? A lot of people really like to point the finger at other people. But one simple truth that I've learned is that everything in this world is based on us. It's based on our perception. Whether that perception is that we can or can't do something. We'll be right. If we work hard to do something that we didn't think that we could do, we can end up doing it. Those are the moments when the magic happens. So when you cultivate awareness, you're opening yourself up to experience life and to take the responsibility for everything that's going on around you. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's indifferent, it's all your responsibility. So when you know that, and you can really harness that and understand it, your world can change completely. Instead of being upset with someone else or a circumstance or a situation, claim the responsibility. Ask yourself, what within me would be asking for this experience? And the easiest way to disarm it, if it feels very emotionally triggering, is to just start with gratitude and to say, "Hey, thank you. I am so glad that I had this god-awful experience. I'm glad that that one's checked off." And it sounds weird because some people might think, well, if you're doing that, aren't you creating more of these bad experiences? No, you're actually not. You're actually creating more experiences in your subconscious that you could be grateful for. And you may wonder, how do you cultivate this? How do you cultivate this awareness? It's by sitting in silence, taking a couple minutes throughout the day. Maybe it's just 30 seconds. Maybe it's a minute. Maybe you can do longer chunks, like 5 minutes. Start with whatever's easiest for you. And even if it's right after you make a decision or right after you see the effects of some decision that you make, sit with it. How did that make you feel? How did it show up in your life? How did that change things? Did that lead you towards the outcome that you wanted, or did it lead you away from it? Once you start having these conversations internally or even journaling them, you can be more empowered to build confidence with your decisions and make decisions that align with your goals and your beliefs. And that brings us to number 3. Once you know what your goals are, and for some people, goals isn't the best word. So find the word that fits for you. Is it your goals? Is it your aspirations? Are they your dreams? Are they your wishes? Whatever they are, whatever that vision of the future entails, know what that vision is. Because like I said before, as soon as you know what that vision is, and as soon as you cultivate the self-awareness, you can start to make decisions that support you on that path to that vision of the future. So how do you overcome self-doubt and build confidence? 3 things. Become decisive in the small things that seem insignificant. Number 2, cultivate that awareness. Understand how those decisions that you make and the consequences of those decisions, good, bad, or whatever they may be, how they sit within you and how they support you on, number 3, your vision for the future. Knowing what your vision for what your life is to become and who you are becoming will empower you to build confidence and eliminate self-doubt. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you know first when we have more content coming out exactly for people like you who are overwhelmed when dealing with the loss of a loved one, inheriting a home, and figuring out what the new normal feels like.